Does your art have meaning? Does it stand to represent something bigger than yourself? Does it speak in a way that words cannot? If you're an artist, you probably have asked yourself these questions many times before. You spend hours scrolling on Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, wherever, just to find a little bit of inspiration of where your style comes from and what your style is going to be, until you eventually reach a point where you're creating things that you A, don't like, or you feel like you waste your time when you're creating it, and then B is you don't actually finish it because you don't have the motivation or care or desire to see it through. At this point, you can get stuck in a loop of trying. You feel like you're failing and stopping altogether. You get caught in the loop of purpose and meaning, where the meaning behind whatever you're creating is bigger than the purpose, the why. Why are you actually making what you're making? In a world where everything you put out can be criticized and dissected, every little thing that you try to attempt and things that you work on feel like they have to have a bigger meaning than what you can even want it to have. You ask yourself, what am I making? What is my art saying? And what if this isn't good enough to be capital A art? You search for a greater purpose, hoping that that alone will guide your way into making something that is monumental, is life-changing, is so different and unique to you. And the craziest thing is, none of that even matters. Like literally, none of it matters. These thoughts are an illusion, and they take up so much precious space in your brain. And as an artist, you need that space for patience, and you need that space for motivating yourself and giving yourself the energy to see things through. You don't need to waste your time on like what the thing actually is and what the meaning behind it all is. When you allow yourself to create from a place that is for the sake of creation by itself, you find that you'll develop your own style based off of what you feel is working and not working. If you find yourself working on something and you can't see the end of it, you're rushing through, or you're just trying to figure out how to complete it, maybe that's not where your heart's at. And also, like, let's be real, like, your art style doesn't have to stay as one static style. I mean, artists, as with life, have evolutions. We have dips and peaks, and honestly, the art that we create is parallel to the lives that we live. You'll see after you create things how much it's reflected of like where you are in your life. You know, when I start the process of finding inspiration and trying new mediums, I try to allow my impulses to kind of guide that. My subconscious comes through to create the things that I actually want, the things that make me happy. And as much as I've wanted to, make things that are political or that are deeper in meaning, like these colors represent my sorrow or my happiness and da da da, like whatever, I find that it's harder for me to stay consistent. It's harder for me to find that joy in the creation process. I get bogged down in the what is this going to say to people, when you don't make art for people. I mean, in some ways you do. Obviously, you want people to consume it, but you make art for yourself. You make it because it's an impulse you have to put something out in the world, and whether or not that thing is full of sorrow or political meaning or happiness, joy, pretty colors, whatever, it still exists as a reflection of you. So why not start from within? Even when you aren't satisfied, with what you make right in the moment, it is a representation of who you are. And maybe you aren't at that particular point in your life yet where you know where your style is at. And or alternatively, it could be your style is this thing right now. So I don't know even really what I'm trying to say with this as much, but when people ask me, what is my style and where does it come from? I say it comes from what I want to do in that moment. And that's that. I can prescribe some sort of meaning after, I've painted the painting, after I've drawn the picture. I can prescribe some sort of meaning to it of, I probably chose these colors because I want to see things that are pretty. I'm trying to go back to this like childlike fun that I had when I was painting as a kid. And sometimes that's a good enough reason to pick up the paintbrush and buy the paper and draw the picture and then paint the painting. It doesn't have to be as serious as people want it to be. And yes, of course, the artists that have bigger meaning with their art, and I say bigger not to mean like of importance, but bigger as in the thought process of what they were making was very apparent before they created it. That's a privilege to some people, to get to that point to where you see the world and you say, my art can be reflected of this problem, or this dilemma, or same thing, can be reflective of this thing that I'm feeling, this thing that I'm going through, this thing that I see people going through. And again, that's a privilege to get to that point where, if you're just creating something because it's pretty, maybe in your life you want to see more joy. Maybe the world sucks, and I mean it does for a lot of people, and maybe you just wanted to paint a pretty picture so that it makes you happy. But that also matters. It's saying something about the world even when you don't set out to make it say something about the world. It says something because you created it. It means something because you thought of it. It's meaningful. It has a purpose. It has a style because you created it. Even if you spent your career copying people's art, which, I don't always recommend, but in some cases I totally understand, like learning from the masters or something. If all you did was recreate art that other people had created, it's still unique to you. You still created it. Like, you can never make exactly what Michelangelo made, or, Picasso. I didn't go to art school, so I don't know that many artists. You know what I mean? Like you can never really create exactly what they create anyway. Eventually, parts of you seep through. Eventually, ideas spark in your mind of, what if I did it like this? What if I did it like that? What if I change the skin tone of these people? What if I do the hair different, or add some flowers, or change the colors? Like, the more you create and the more you put emphasis on creating things and seeing it through to the end, and taking that moment to look at it and reflect and say, did I like what I did? Did I like the process of making what I made? And then you take the parts that you like, and then you move on to the next thing. Even if you don't feel like it's purely reflected or fully reflected of you, you take your lessons from even the things that, are works in progress, or, things you don't fully feel aligned with. You take the lessons from that and you just move on. Eventually, you will get to a place where everything that you've created, or the thing that you created, is all coming from you. And I don't know how else to, to encourage anybody to discover their style other than just create things. Make creation your purpose. Make the beginning, the middle, and the end, specifically the end, and seeing it through, be your be the thing that helps you find what your style is. I think a lot of the time, and I can understand this from a motivation perspective, but a lot of times we quit on ourselves before we see it through. And as an artist, you have to work that muscle that tells you that you're not good enough to finish whatever it is that you sought out to start. And you have to work that muscle that tries to overcome that perfectionism. Because anything and everything I've created I've had a moment where I've been like, I don't know if I can finish this. And as hard as it is, you find that it is way more rewarding, even if you don't like it at the end, that you finished it. It helps you for the next thing that you want to start. And maybe it also encourages you, it does something psychologically to be like, hey, you did it. You finished it. So again, I'm rambling per usual, but if you are stuck trying to find what your style is, and I like air quote style, just put it on paper. Like, put it on the canvas, put it on paper, put it on whatever medium you're working on. Because it might not even, this might be a ceramic person watching this and, getting in that same rut of, I'm not making something good enough. Like, seeing it through to the end helps you build confidence in yourself that you actually can see it through. Like, it's honestly the same with anything. It's any goal that you can have. It's very similar. So yeah, that's all I have for rambling thoughts today. I got my painting in the back. It's a work in progress, and it's taken me, you can't really see it. I don't know if I can focus on it because my camera's over there. This painting has had a couple iterations. I've had to repaint the face a couple of times, and again, there's a point where you can drop off and you can quit, but there is so much joy in getting it either right or sometimes just getting it finished. Getting it finished so you can let it go, do something else, work on the next thing, learn from that lesson and apply it to the next thing. So yes, I encourage every artist to just make creation your purpose. Make creation the way that you find your style.